Hello, everyone. Welcome to our discussion on why Black Lives Matter. I'm very happy to be with you tonight or today, depending on where you're from. We are at part 71st, I say? Is that correct? Yeah, part 71st. And so we've been having this discussion for quite a while, and this week we had a pretty deep discussion, especially um, informations from Jeff that made us want to talk about where we are at in Black Lives Matter and basically talk about relationship with Black Lives Matter, the media, and unionism. Because inside the Unionism discussion group, we've been having this discussion from a year and a half. But Black Lives Matter is also like a global movement and a culture. And so, yeah, I think what Jeff said in the past few weeks really made us realize that as a unionist, we have a mission, and we have also a desire to grow out of the structural racism and, see the oneness in humanity with no separation between like race and other factors. And it's important that, our views of Black Lives Matter can align with that simple desire. Because it is simple, but there are many blocks and a lot of history and past hurts to racism. So our mission, I guess, and our daily vigilance must be on: am I aligned with love there? And so one of the things that we ought to question is, I guess, our relationship with the media. And yeah, I just wanted to ask you guys, like, each one of you, like, what do you feel about the media today? About how divisive it can be and how it can, like, make us take a side.
Yeah, it's cool to bring this question up because I do see, like, in myself, what I've been working on recently is like sensationalism, like not like getting stuck on like an opinion and really looking for the truth of the situation and what God's perspective is, which I think is what he's pointing out. Like, don't like side with a political party, like basically go with like the greater good, or then like what's best for everybody. And so, like, as far as the media, I actually looked at like the bias map. Did you guys see that? They just put it out within the past couple weeks of like all of the news. Well, maybe not all of them, because I'm sure there's a lot, but it was like a diagram of like how biased a news reporter is, and it was really cool because I can't really explain it that well. I'm sure if we look it up, it would tell you, but it says like, what's based on facts and what stations are like doing it based off of emotions. It's really good, and it plots all of them on this diagram. And yeah, so I find that important too, because you can look at like who's reporting like just facts and not based off of like their opinion and what they think and their emotions. So I do think the media does tend to use that to report. And I mean, it makes sense, like we're the ones through Jeff and Shalea's work who would heal that for them, basically. So that's where I'm at with it. How do the rest of you feel about the media today? Or is there anything you want Eureka and I to explain? Did you guys like get caught up in the Discord group lately?
Yeah, I read about the massacre in Wisconsin, which was really sad to hear about, and like it kind of sounded like the media kind of took that event and like attached it to the BLM movement, like really made it like this is a BLM supported, like BLM chose to do this act kind of thing, or at least that's the vibe that I got from some of the articles that I read. And so I think that kind of points to what we're talking about and how the media sensationalizes events and like creates that division, because when you have such an influential group of people who are saying these things, like BLM is doing this massacre, BLM is doing this, or any kind of organization, like people hear that, people listen to that, and then it becomes a part of the brand. And whether or not it's true, now it's hard for a certain group of people to support that brand because of that like stigma. And so I also think that's kind of like we've been saying, we're here to heal, like Anastasia was saying. But yeah, like just the media, because when I read that article, it was a man who made a choice to do a heinous act, right? And then when they looked at his Facebook profile, oh, he's a BLM supporter, and so it must be BLM who's doing these things. And now it just like snowballed. And so that's one thing I noticed. I don't know if anyone else has any thoughts about that.
Just to be sure, like, do you mean like the very recent Wisconsin massacre was linked to BLM? Like the truck driver who attacked people at a parade or something?
Yeah, I mean, just what I kind of like when I looked it up, and that may not actually be the actual like what's being promoted in the media. It's just what I saw when I Googled it, like how certain articles attached it to BLM. Certain articles were saying that the BLM organization was supporting this person or supporting the massacre, and that was completely false, right? But certain media outlets will push that narrative in order to push the division. And I think that's a part of the problem.
Okay. Yeah, it was just to be sure because, like, apart from the day after the massacre. Like, I think outside of the United States, we didn't really hear about it much more because we had our own like social events and like COVID news and everything. And so I didn't know that
Yeah.
some of the media outlets were doing that. But I think even though it's not all the media outlets that are doing that, I think it's good that you brought it up because it clearly illustrates like what Jeff said about us. Yeah, just said about the media that it would use an event maybe in an attempt to like have more readers and create more value um, to divide um, to divide the public opinion on a political scale and almost have that feeling of almost always having black against white, um, black people against white people, or white people against black people, always making it a race problem, maybe. And so I think it's good that it got our attention, and that I wasn't really aware that I think I'm media has long stopped being a neutral outlet, but I think I wasn't realizing that in the US it was used so much as a political divide. I really sometimes I really thought that news were just news. It was just not about picking sides. Maybe it's a bit naive of me to think that way, but I think it's good that we have that overall view right now, and that we're more aware of it, and to not get caught up on maybe drama and grounded peace and in the truth. So yeah, at the same time, that was my view on I think our relationship with the media and Black Lives Matter. Um, do you have do you guys have anything else to say about it? Like comments, maybe Drake, what you thought about it?
Yeah, I mean, when you were like talking about like drama and stuff, that's I was kind of like just thinking about it and like going over it in my head because what I realized is like, something will pop up on Facebook or like the news or whatever, and it's something that's, I don't know, like spur of the moment, and then someone will just like, not somebody, a lot of people will like attach to it and then will like start spreading it, even if it's like fake and it's like not really real. Like they won't really do any research and then they just kind of start spreading it. And when I feel into it, what it feels like me is like some sort of drama or like, like getting high off of that energy instead of actually like, you know, looking into something and being, okay, well, this is right, this is not right. Um, and then they, again, but that's what the media does is like they have the drama and then they'll attach it to, okay, well, now it's blacks against whites or it's this and against that, and it's just like like very misleading and very divisive. But I definitely think that drama is something to look into and to really get to the core of, because that's kind of just what it feels like too, is like the media likes to stir people up and get them like angry and make them fight, if that makes sense. And I don't like that, because I feel and I desire a media that shares facts and is peaceful and informative, rather than, "Oh, everyone's fighting and hurting each other." Like, I don't want to see that on my TV. I'd rather see um, just like peace and uplifting things, like, oh, this person is helping take care of people at the hospital. I don't know, like something like that. But yeah, maybe you guys are like feeling something about drama, or I don't know, but what do you guys think about that?
drama or like negativity. Yeah, because even like growing up, I always like when I would hear, the adults like watching the news, I was always like, oh, this also just sounds terrible. Like, why are y'all watching that? You know what I mean? So I think, yeah, you definitely hit the nail on the head that it's like drama, sensationalism, negativity. I'm just like pondering further.
Yeah, it's like so true because like even if we look back in history, right? Like that's what sells. Like I think they used to call it yellow journalism, where they would purposefully like draw up drama in the news. Even if it was fake, they would do it because they knew that they would sell more copies of the newspaper with like fake news because people weren't interested in news unless it was like drama filled or interesting. So I think there's something there around like, I don't know, like, is it that people like to be triggered or people don't like peace? I think I kind of resonate with that, like with along this journey, peace. Um, I remember saying to my coaches, Adam and Brienne, I'm like, yeah, peace feels good, but it also feels a little boring, Like, so I think that's a part of it too. Um, so
Most definitely. Yeah, I could see with that. So, yeah, peace is good.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah, so like in the news, like the drama sells, right? And so the news articles are definitely gonna go towards the division because that's how they make their money, right?
Yeah, I think that's why they keep on getting to extremes more and more, like inviting extreme people to have like an audience or having medias that are more separated based on their extremes. I think it's all based on the drama. I think it's less that people, maybe I haven't thought it through, but it feels like more of a loop, like a trap, spiritual trap, drama, because um, yeah, the media has a history of creating drama to sell, and I think they've updated their methods with like the technology, and now we have like non-stop news, non-stop breaking news. And I remember my dad always having the TV on that channel, and I was like, "Why are you making yourself suffer like that?" And it's like, well, because we don't even know if there will be another breaking news. And I'm like, do you realize that it's been breaking news for like over 2 hours? Maybe there's nothing new, nothing new. And there's actually like a YouTuber, a French YouTuber, who he already sat for 24 hours before like a non-stop TV channel of news and realized that it was all just instrumentation of the same text from 5 a.m. to maybe 9 in the evening. It was funny, and I think that's why I don't have a TV at my house, even though I watch TV from my computer, or when I watch the news, kind of as an antithesis of my dad watching too much of it. I don't want to be caught up in the loop of things, I guess, because that's also unionism and love to yourself, having that balance in life. I think temporarily that's how I found my balance personally. And yeah, I do think like journalists have a taste for drama, or maybe they don't. They truly have a taste for investigation at first, but they get in the loop of corporations and the big media, and they get caught up in it. Because when I was at school for political science and social sciences, I had kind of an internal view of a journalist, and they were like, we were taught that because of the non-stop information, like the non-stop videos that people were sending, the non-stop internet flow of information, they didn't have time anymore to treat information as true information, and they were just like throwing what they were sent on air. And I think maybe that's one of the many traps, of of news. And sometimes you publish a thing and you take a side unconsciously without even knowing it, but just because you reposted maybe something that someone has said on the internet that contains news, but is still tainting with like personal opinion, I think. So yeah, I feel like we're just uncovering like the big overview of that loop of fear and drama.
Yeah, I definitely resonate with what you're saying. And for me, it feels kind of just choosing peace over drama, and like having my piece expand. And like when you choose your piece to expand, like it expands to other people too, right? um and like that's kind of like our jobs too as unionists, is to like expand and show people, like, because we're showing people like a real relationship with God, right? So this is what we can do with the media too, is saying, well, actually peace feels a lot better than drama, right? Peace feels a lot more better than suffering and negativity, right? Because I'm pretty sure if you had a conversation with most of the people in the world and you'd be like, hey, would you rather have chaos than this or peace? Like, what would you rather have? Right? Like your people are probably sick of hearing all this stuff on the news too. And they're just like, hey, can we get to the good stuff? Can we have that? Um, I guess that's just what it feels like me. It's, and when you're talking about like the extremes, yeah, like you can have like the good feeling, the high feeling with drama, right? Like you can have that false sense of like a good feeling, or you can also have that feeling like with peace and with God. So it's just about like, yeah, not letting like the media win. And well, like the how do I describe it? Kind of like, I don't know, like ego and God, right? It's just choosing to only serve and like align with God. And for me, that feels like with the media is like choosing to only like not side, but side with God on what God is presenting in the media. And then the more that I do that and I choose that, like that will have to reflect in my reality, because like I'm the creator of that, and so is everybody else. And if we give that gift to everybody else, then like the media will have to change, right? And so it's believing and choosing in the power of like our peace, and teaching people that peace is powerful, and it doesn't have to be drama and to be exciting, right? Like we don't need drama in our lives for our lives to be exciting. Like our life is just exciting and great because God's in it, right? Why would we want anything like other than God? I guess that's just what it's bringing up for me. I don't know if it's bringing up that for you guys also, but that's just what I'm feeling.
Yeah, you've dropped quite a few nuggets in there, and I think siding with peace. It's not even about siding; it's about choosing truth. So I think we're understanding that we're not even like antagonizing um, the media or the world. It's just that we're choosing truth, even though no one else seems to be doing choosing that same thing right now. And yeah, we're learning that as unionists, we have to sometimes make choices that are very new, very out of our habits, I would say. And it feels good, but like it's not as hard as we thought it would be. And Granville dropped some thoughts about it with us. Like he said, could it be that all the noise only serves to distract us from the truth? And how do we transcend that? And Drake, you offered like the beginning of an answer to that. And I found myself doing the same thing this week. I found myself like asking God, choosing truth, choosing peace, and asking God, basically, if I could use that outlet, what do I respond to that, or what's the truth there, and just asking for clarity, even though I don't have the clarity instantly. And so, yeah, I think we're slowly starting to transcend, the noise. We're starting to recognize it, and I think the next steps are just asking God constantly, and we're naturally aligning with truth. And yeah, I think you touched on something else, like the power of choosing that, and I think the magnitude of like choosing peace is bigger than we realize, because the saying from Yogananda that when we change ourselves, like the world changes. Like if we want to change the world, like we need to change ourselves first, and the world will reflect that. And Jeff and Shaleia have said this many times as well. And so like when we will change, like when we will get out of the noise of the loop of drama, the government will concentrate on less drama and more maybe actions on things we need, and media as well, because it will naturally know that the shift has been done, like the focus has changed.
Yeah, it's I love everything you said. It's very important to just stay focused on the truth. I have two things I wanted to say. I found that bias chart. I'll just send you guys the link for it, but I was just gonna say that at the top, obviously, it's most extreme left, most extreme right, and then this side is basically like the fact reporting and whether it's true or false. It has like different categories as you go downward, and then it has all the news stations, media. So it's the media bias chart, web, podcast, and TV. So it is by Ad Fontes Media. So if anyone wanted to check that out, that's where it is. The other thing about like, really like staying with the truth when you're looking at any event, because I think even last week, was that when we were talking about the Kyle Rittenhouse case originally last week? Yeah, I think that like sparked this whole thing, because like some of us were kind of like, we're having like a one-sided opinion, and then it was like a split type of thing, and the focus was like how it was like honoring life, right? Because he defended himself. I don't know the whole thing of the news thing, but the point I was talking about with media is that like I found myself, like Yureen, she said she was going through this too, like I found myself, I was looking at this event that took place in America. It was the Deadly concert, and like at first like I was kind of like on that one-sided like view of the whole situation, and like obviously the media was like wanting to point fingers and be like, oh, this person's a bad person and la-di-da-di-da. And then like finally eventually I was, as I healed, I like started having compassion for the whole situation, for everyone, because like the main like defendant, like it, like he's getting karma for whatever it is, so there's no real reason for like the abuse that the media is trying to like give to this person. You know what I mean? Like there is a point where you need to report on it and you need to like say what happened, but when you're like trying to like make someone like look a certain way and then get everybody to kind of like side with that, like that's kind of like taking it too far, and it's also like God has a job, so at some point like we have to let God do his job and like not assert like what we think should happen in a situation. So yeah, that's kind of what where I was going through, because like at first I was like, oh no, that's so horrible, like but then I'm like, well, yeah, it is bad, but like it's a whole collective thing that manifested and everyone has stuff to heal, so it's like God's job to do whatever he's going to do with it, so yeah, that's what I've been working on in regards to this whole like just media and what my purpose is in the BLM movement. And yeah, it's what Jeff said, shine light on the truth, don't get caught up in all the mess of it, the emotions, the sensationalism. Go with God and the truth. So
what it makes me think about is that if we get caught up in the outrage and drama, I had a similar experience with like the Deadly concert. Do we trust the system to do its work? Because clearly, for all the events that we've talked about this past few weeks, there was a system, a judiciary system at work for each one of these cases. And do we trust that? Do we trust that it's their work to handle that? And God is handling the situation through them. And also, it points to a thing that Jeff also pointed himself. Is BLM rooted in like this mistrust of the system? And is the mistrust in the system really worth it, really founded? And is the system really corrupted? Sure, there is structural racism. And so there are a bit of difficulties in separation that we experience in every steps of society. That we could experience everywhere. Everywhere we could have a different experience than a Caucasian person. But does this mean that the system is failing us as a person? How do you feel about that?
Personally, I'm at a loss for words. I feel like that is something that we could go on for a long time about, and I know that I have a lot of healing in regards to that piece myself. But I've also experienced in my life different things where the system did work, but there was also times where I had to stand up for myself too, because like I don't know if you guys know, like when I was in high school I had to go to court with this girl who was white, and that's not important, but like I ended up getting justice, but I had to show up, so I'd like to like go think about that for the next week, because I think trusting God, can we trust the system? That's like a really good question. Because here's the thing too, like when I think of my own personal experiences with the system, I did have to stand up for myself. So yeah, I'm interested to hear what the rest of you guys have to say.
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I feel like it's a really good question, like to be brought up. Is BLM rooted in mistrust of the system? Is that it, right? For me personally, I don't feel like BLM is rooted in mistrust of the system. I feel like its purpose is to hold the system to a certain standard, and make sure that the system is being held accountable, right? Like to the constitutional rights, or to just global world rights. And so, because we haven't seen that historically, right? And so organizations like BLM have to step in and call attention to that. And I feel like that's what the purpose is. Because when you look at cases like Ahmaud Arbery, I can't necessarily say that. I mean, no one can really say if justice would have been held if organizations like BLM hadn't protested or, just done what they did, spoke up or fought the way that they did. Had we seen justice in this case without the support of this movement. And so I feel personally like it's not necessarily about mistrust. Everybody has their blocks that they're working through when it comes to mistrust. Definitely, I do. But overall, I don't think it's fair to say that BLM, like the purpose of it, is rooted in mistrust. I think it's rooted in upholding the system to a standard. Yeah.
Can we just like mic drop? That was great. I loved everything you said. Thank you. That's a really tough act to follow, you guys. I have nothing else to say. Like, should we just like pull a card or something? You guys okay with that?
Yeah, I guess. I think I have, yeah, I
You
guess
have the next piece.
maybe, uh, hmm. My next question would be like, is it BLM's role to uphold the system to a certain standard? Like, we have made it bad because of what happened to Black people over and over again. But as we had as we've had this discussion, like we've come to see how easy it was to really heal ourselves and change the world with it, just by doing the mirror exercise, just by being together every week. And so maybe we should let go of God's responsibility here. Not to say that BLM didn't have a purpose to uphold the system to a standard, but with unionism in here and how global the movement is in general, like we can be sure that each of our acts are divinely guided. Like just being here is divinely guided. And changing the system, I'd say tweaking a system that maybe has a good base and building upon the kingdom of heaven that we're working on here. It is not our job, it is just God's job. And I think in letting go of having that mental image of fighting alone to uphold a system where we feel that people are not upholding it with us, we can see that, hey, we're just here as human beings to enjoy ourselves. Sure, we have upsets. Sure, there are things that we don't understand, and we've talked about it last week with Carol Rittenhouse, is that there are so many things that we don't understand that it's way easier to let it all go and just give it to God. And the truth of that anger that was there behind Carol Rittenhouse act was a healing for us. It was not even about like justice. It was not even about the people that were dead. It was about us. So yeah, that's how I feel. It would be more relaxing, easier, faster to surrender this to God and maybe surrender the form that Black Lives Matter has taken and will take in the future. Because I think it is a movement that is sure to grow with us if we just stay with it. Like just being present here. So yeah, how do you guys feel? Or maybe if you if you feel overwhelmed, Anastasia can draw a card for us. Everything's okay right now.
Yeah. Let's see. This is a funny card. It says awaiting results. I find it interesting just because like we were saying like, oh, is this like really the responsibility of BLM or is it this or that? But I think like what comes up for me is like I can't control the whole BLM movement, right? So like I think my purpose is just doing it in this way with you guys, and then like all these other unknown people, right? Are God's working through them to do their part, and God's working through so and so to do his part. You know what I mean? That's kind of what came up for me when you were talking. So yeah, I just feel like it's everybody's responsibility. Like I like the Kamala Harris speech she did came up while I was researching this morning, and the one thing she said was, you know, if we don't all like then like we're all not gonna like experience the fruits of that healing. She didn't really say it in those words, but she was basically saying like we all have to heal racism. And so yeah, I feel good about it though. It feels like a good responsibility because nobody likes racism. Not fun.
Yeah, I love that. Like, we all have our own individual piece, right? Like, the responsibility doesn't have to fall on one particular group or anything like that. Like, we all have our part. So that feels good.
Yuri, here it is all smiles. Everyone's like real smiley today. It's like a really good discussion. So I'm just gonna pull another. I love it. Healing begins. It's cool because her heart's like beaming, right? Like she's like, yep, I'm healing myself. Whatever happens after that, cool. We're just gonna let God do it, right? We're gonna let God figure the rest of it, but I am healing myself. So how's everyone feeling? Is this feeling complete? Do you guys have anything else you would like to share?
I'll share. I think it was really important when you were just talking about like your court case, and then you were just like, well, I just went there and I just had to like show up, because that's important, right? because that's how you heal it. Is God says, okay, you need to show up here. You need to show up here for yourself. And then you go, okay, God. And then that healing expands and spirals, right? And when everybody does that, when everybody shows up, then that's when like the healing expands and happens, right? But you do your part by showing up for yourself. That's how I don't know. I was kind of like thinking about it. I was like, well, what is the justice system, right? And when you brought up the court case, it was just like, okay, well, it's about showing up for yourself, and like, because the justice system isn't going to do it for you, right? You have to do it for yourself. You have to do it. You have to heal, and then when you heal, God's like, okay, I see you, and then let's heal it together. Right. I think, but it's not relying on something outside of you to do it for you. You have to do it. You have to show up. You have to heal. You create your reality. So yeah, that's what I have to say.
Damn, thanks for bringing that up. That's so true. Like, because, if you look at it from the perspective, like, if I didn't show up, I would have, like, well, I was under the age of 18 at that time, so the record thing doesn't really matter, but I would have to pay like $700. Like, so I showed up for myself and didn't have to pay that. But yeah, I love that. Yeah, you showing up for yourself is the justice. My mind's blown, y'all. Y'all taught me so much today.
I love it. Yeah. And we could like go on forever and keep deconstructing that. Like for example, what if like the system did not fail us, but like God was teaching a certain group of people or certain persons to show up for themselves and be stronger, to be taught strength and faith and courage, because it was important for their journey, for their karma at that time. And then like your whole perspective is shifting because you do not see things as failures of your country or system of government, but as your personal hero's journey. And that's pretty cool. And God is so complex like that. The same as we said last week, He will use like the weirdest medium, like the funniest channel to help us get where we need to be. All right, so any more thoughts of reaction?
I have one more. So I love. Sorry, this is so juicy. But I love that you brought up God, and it was just like God's showing you something, right? Because it's kind of just like, wow, like, was just talking about BLM, right? What is God showing this whole community right now, right? He's teaching. He's saying, well, you are strong, you are powerful, you're not weak, you're not less than, right? You are divine. You're beautiful, right? You're strong, and maybe that's just what that collective, right? The BLM collective needed, and God was like, okay, well, I'm just going to bring this healing in, right? Because like with slavery and all of that was really horrible, but God was again maybe teaching all along, hey, this is not who you are, this is who you actually are. You are divine, you're powerful, you have this power, right? You aren't alone, you're strong, right? So maybe it's changing that perspective. I don't know. That was just really powerful. Just thinking of, oh well, this is what God is actually teaching me. This is what God is shaping me into, right? Like you're leaving behind your false self and you're coming into your true self, right? Because that's kind of what God does. God shapes us in mysterious ways, puts us, we go through things and it's kind of like, what are you showing me, God? This really sucks. but then when you're out of it, it's just like, wow, okay, it's so much more than I thought. It's so much of a healing that I thought, so much bigger, so much more powerful, right? So maybe it's about just changing that perspective too, also in BLM. I don't know, but yeah, that was so good. That was so good.
It's like that Tyler the Creator TikTok. Thank you. I needed to be humbled. Yeah, I love that part too, because every individual like is learning something. Like even if it's a tragic event, right? Like everyone like manifested that, and God is teaching them specifically something, and maybe you know you don't exactly know what that is because you have your own piece. So yeah, you just focus on your piece.
Maybe he's even teaching about death. I've been learning a lot about death, like this week. It's not morbid, I promise. It's kind of the opposite, actually. But yeah, just good to remember that we're all children of God and God's got us. Nothing to worry about. Alrighty, we're almost at the hour. Do you feel good stopping there for today? Yeah. Great. That was a great discussion. Thank you, everyone, and thank you to all of you who watched that discussion from the Unionism discussion group, and to all of you who watched from our YouTube channel. Don't forget to like and subscribe to see more of this discussion. And yeah, we'll see you soon. Bye.